fans, and welcome to another presentation of Trinity Baseball on the Tiger Network. We are here on a majestic Friday afternoon to watch the top-ranked Trinity Tigers host the Austin College Kangaroos for not one, but two games. I'm Brian Yanselson, and I'm joined by Sam McCorder and Luke Terry. Luke, after watching last night's game, what are you looking forward to in today's doubleheader?
Well, Brian, after last night's game, I think it's important to make note that even though the Roos gave up 8 runs on the night, they got some pretty good pitching for one of the first times on this year. So I think today it'll be important for them to play good defense in the field, capitalize on the fact that they have their ace on the mound. On the other side, for the Tigers, last night was the third time this season that they've gone without a home run. So it's going to be a challenge for the Roos to keep that in check again today.
And Sam, this is your first call of the year, so welcome back. What are you most excited about today?
I'm really glad to be back, and I'm just excited for baseball again. I mean, being here in the studio and watching them up on the big screen, there's just nothing like it. The interior battles, the mechanics, it's just, there's so much romanticism about baseball for me, and I just can't wait to be a part of it again.
Yeah, it certainly should be a good day of baseball, and now let's take a look at the lineup for the Austin College Kangaroos. Batting first, shortstop Jake Webster. Batting second, left fielder Nick Flynn. Batting third at second base, Zach Mahoney. In cleanup, third baseman Justin Alphonse. Batting fifth, designated hitter Brandon Evans. Batting sixth, in right field, Brandon Hill. First baseman Logan Ballard is hitting seventh. Batting eighth, center fielder Garrett Gray. And catching, batting ninth, Bo Bashirs. And we are almost ready to go here on Trinity's campus. Good Friday, no school, but we do have baseball. Joseph Chavana delivers the first pitch, and that's grounded to shortstop. And Michael Herrera gets the out. Jack Vonderhaar with a nice stretch at first base. And just like that, we're underway for a doubleheader.
Yeah, Brian, as we discussed last night, this is a very experienced Tiger team when it comes to playing in the field. But again, today on the mound, we're seeing another young player. So it's important for him to get established on the mound early. And a great way to do that is one pitch, one out.
Yeah, and the Kangaroos are out swinging. Nick Flynn also swinging at the first pitch. Fouled it off. Chavana gets that breaking ball in for a strike. 0-2 count. And he gets Flynn swinging. As the umpire says, that foul tip was caught by catcher Tyler Pettit. So a good start for Chavana here. 2 quick outs.
Great start for Chavana. What I will say is early on, it seems that he's really in command of his pitches, specifically that curveball. Got ahead in the count early, throwing a fastball that was fouled off, and then capitalized on that.
And another swing at the first pitch. That one is rolled. It's foul. Tyler Pettit can't get to it in time in fair territory, so Mahoney will walk on back to home plate. Senior Zach Mahoney out of Corsicana, Texas. He's the Kangaroos' leading hitter with a .370 average.
And although the Roos bats were held in check last night, Mahoney was able to record a hit.
0-2 pitch is hit to third. MJ Metz gathers that one, and Vonderhaar has that one as well. And a 1-2-3 first inning for Chavana. The Tigers will be coming to bat in the bottom of the first right after this break. And before the Tigers come to bat, let's take a look at their lineup. Batting first, leading off, good to see Rafe Chomet back in right field. Shortstop Michael Herrera batting second. Center fielder Mason Meredith batting third. Hitting cleanup Brian Shaw, leading home run leader in the SCAC. Batting fifth, Jack Vonderhaar at first base. Third baseman MJ Metz batting sixth. Jack Wisniewski at second base. Designated hitter Michael Goodrich batting eighth. And catcher Tyler Pettit batting ninth. On the mound for the Kangaroos, Ryan Culp. He has been a pretty reliable presence for the Kangaroos, right, Luke?
He has, Brian. In his last outing against Texas Lutheran, he was a real bright spot on the weekend for the Roos. He went 8 innings, only giving up 2 earned runs, and really kept his team in a position to get a win.
And he'll have to have a good outing to keep his team in the game against this explosive Trinity offense.
And I think we can all agree that it's a very good lineup, right? Quality from top to bottom. I think what's impressive about the way that Trinity has done things is you have players that have been here since, day one. They stepped on campus and they grew into their roles. You have players who stepped right in and started hitting immediately. It's a mix of different experiences and guys, and I think that can only help you when you bring different experiences literally to the plate, and it helps everybody in that lineup get a better feel.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a very experienced Tigers lineup, and first pitch from Culp is low and in the dirt. I mentioned it's good to see Rafe Chomet back. He fell victim to a weird play last night. He got hit by a relay throw as he was a runner on first base, and he had to exit the game for most of the remainder of it, but he lines that one and caught by Culp on the mound. Good reaction from him to get the first out, but Chomet not wasting any time making good contact.
Unbelievable athleticism to get to that. Just the reaction speed is nutty.
Now we see shortstop Michael Herrera, transfer from Phoenix, step into the plate.
And a big emphasis for the Roos pitching staff last night was throwing a bunch of breaking balls to this Tiger lineup. It'll be interesting to see today if that is the case again. But early on from Culp, it looks like he's throwing a little harder. The wrinkle for this pitcher is the fact that his delivery, his arm slot is a little lower. So that's not something that Tiger hitters are used to.
Yeah, and Herrera lines that one foul. It is an interesting arm motion for sure. Quite different from the two lefties we saw for the Kangaroos come in first last night. And Culp's 1-2 pitch is looked to be foul. Herrera thought it was foul, but Kangaroos think that was fair, and it looks to be an out.
I believe Herrera thought he grounded that off of himself, and based on that replay, it looks like he did.
Looks like the home plate umpire called it a fair ball.
Yeah, tough to tell from that angle, but umpire's ruling is going to stand.
Yeah, so there are 2 outs, and Mason Meredith now batting. Meredith had an outstanding game last night. He was the only Tiger coming in to not be hitting 300, but as you can see there, he has gotten over the 300 mark after going 3 for 5 last night. And he takes ball 2 inside, gets away from the catcher. Meredith, a prime example of the depth of this Tigers lineup. When we were talking about someone not doing as well, that's hitting 278. That's just a remarkable thing for someone to not be doing that well and still be actually hitting well. Meredith takes that one outside as well, so there's a 3-0 count as Culp looks to respond to a 1-2-3 inning of himself. But I'll have to throw a strike here, and the 3-0 is a called strike.
Yeah, nice little arm side action on that pitch. It doesn't quite mirror the tight breaking ball that sort of looks like a slider to me. You can see it there moving in on the barrel of Meredith, and that's why that's a foul instead of being lined out to right field.
Yeah, that was a good swing by Meredith, but just laid on it, fouled it back. So now the 3-2 count with 2 outs and nobody on. Culp delivers, and that is fouled back by Meredith. So we will keep going in this at bat.
It's a good job by Meredith there to just spoil some pitches. Although there are 2 down in this inning, you can always have a 2-out rally, but even if he does record an out here, it's important that other Tiger hitters in this lineup get some idea of what they're going to be facing.
Meredith grounds that one to second base, but he gathers that and gets the easy out at first base. So a 1-2-3 inning for Culp and the Kangaroos, and we are headed to the second inning with a scoreless game here at Trinity. You got a good look right there at the beautiful Trinity Tower. Just a picture-perfect day here. Not a cloud in the sky as Joseph Chavana takes the mound yet again after a perfect first inning. Oh, but he hits Justin Alphonse in the back, and he will head over to first base. So, first base runner for the Kangaroos. Luke, do you want to talk a little bit about Chavana's last performance?
Yeah, Brian. Chavana's last outing was this past weekend in the conference series against St. Thomas University. He got the start, but he only went 2 1/3 innings pitched, giving up 3 hits and 4 earned runs, which ballooned his ERA a little bit. So a good start to this game, but he'll want to make sure he weathers the storm here after hitting the first batter of the second inning.
Yeah, and we'll have to see. Austin College got several base runners on last night, but they were not able to drive a single one of them in. Tigers recorded their first shutout since March 30th of 2019. Chavana's 0-1 pitch is flied out to left field, looks to be a routine fly ball, and it is caught for the first out of the inning. So a good response so far from Chavana after hitting the first batter of this inning. Oh, but it looks like the runner has taken off towards second base after the ball gets away. So good base running there.
Yeah, and this one's just a routine fly out to left. Not too much to say about this. But then the throw is maybe a little lackadaisical and, small mistakes that you hope don't hurt you, but every once in a while they can.
Yeah, and in steps Brandon Hill, freshman out of Rockwall, and he lines it into right field. Chomet guns it into home, and it gets past Pettit, but it caroms right back to him. And so the run doesn't score, but Hill is able to get to second base, so the Kangaroos have something going here in the second inning.
Yeah, and with this scoring threat so early in the game, it's important to note that last night Austin College struggled in situations where they had runners on base. Really seemed a little bit too aggressive last night, but as we talked about a lot yesterday, we think that might be or have something to do with the lack of production out of this offense so far this year.
Yeah, now Logan Ballard steps into the plate and sees ball one from Chavana. So a tough spot for him early on. His 1-0 pitch is swung and driven up the middle. That gets through to center field, and that's going to score one. The second one is coming, and he is going to be safe. And it gets past the catcher, and Ballard is able to get to second base. And so after leaving 8 men on base last night and not scoring a run, the Kangaroos are on the board in the second inning.
And we mentioned it earlier, when you have situations like this, if your lineup struggles a little, you have to capitalize on them, and capitalize they do. Even that little moment of base running right at the end, gotta take extra bases if they're given to you.
Now Garrett Gray looks to continue the rally for the Kangaroos. They're already up 2-0 and have another runner in scoring position, but he grounds it to third. MJ Metz has that one and throws him out at first to get the second out of the inning. So a big out there for Chavana as he tries to get out of this inning with no more damage. In steps catcher Bo Bashirs, who got on base twice last night with a walk. Hitting .227 on the year. And he looks at the first called strike. For Austin College, this is their first lead in 4 games. They did not hold a lead in the entire series against Texas Lutheran. And last night, of course, they did not score a run. So, must be motivating for the Kangaroos to see some runs up on the board.
Especially coming from this bottom half of the lineup. We talked a lot about yesterday how their top 4 hitters in the lineup have really carried their production so far. Despite that they came into this series with a 251 team at batting average, their top 4 hitters were hitting up around that 350 mark.
Yeah, and Bashir hits that one to shortstop. Michael Herrera ranges over and throws it, but it's off the bag, takes Vonderhaar just off. And Bashirs is safe at first, so the inning continues for Austin College.
And to me, that's sort of emblematic of this whole inning. Just little tiny margins. Keeping the inning from stopping, getting a runner over one more base than you'd like, putting a little pressure on. Be nice to see this one in for Chavana.
Yeah, not the defense we're used to seeing from Trinity early on. That goes down as their 4th error already in the second inning. So Chavana, having to work extra hard, now has runners at the corners with 2 outs. Austin College with a 2-0 lead. And Jake Webster, top of the lineup, back in the batter's box. And that one's in the dirt, gets past Pettit, and that'll score another run for the Roos. They take a 3-0 lead. So all around, the ball is just flying around the field.
Yeah, and it looks like that was a fastball that just ended up in a tough spot for Pettit right there. Anytime you get a fastball in the dirt, you want to do everything you can, keep it in front, but it's much more difficult to block those than it is breaking balls or off-speed pitches.
Now Chavana has a 2-0 count on Webster, and he grounds it, and it bounces over Metz, but Herrera gets it and fires it to first and gets him out. Nice play by Michael Herrera at shortstop to close the inning, but not before Austin College scores their first 3 runs on the series. You get another look at that beautiful play at shortstop to prevent another run from scoring, but we head to the bottom of the second with Austin College up 3-0. We are back here in the bottom of the second inning, and a non-familiar sight for the Tigers. They are down 3-0 to Austin College. As Brian Schaub steps into the plate, Colt given a nice lead. And after a 1-2-3 inning, will look to capitalize and maintain that momentum for the Roos.
But Brian, I gotta say, if there's a part of this lineup that you're looking to change a game quickly in, this is the part for you. Schaub, Vonderhaar, these are guys with power in the middle of this order, and that 3-0 could become 3-1 with one swing of the bat and 3-2 with another. So Austin College has to be careful of navigating this part of the order.
Yeah, absolutely, and a 2-0 count is not what you want to have against Schaub. And it looked like that pitch almost hit him, but it did not, so he will have a 3-0 count.
Yeah, Schaub specifically is someone that you want up in this situation because right now you need base runners, and there's been no one better in this Tiger lineup at getting on base, as Schaub boasts an impressive .629 on-base percentage on the season.
Yeah, and he looks at that 3-0 pitch come on in for a strike. Now he has a 3-1 count to work with to lead off the second inning.
And I think to that point, one of my measures for how good a player is at something is if the number doesn't look real. And every time I check the score sheet with Schaub, I look at the OBP, and I have to think for a second whether that's a mistake or not. It's so good. And up and down this Trinity lineup, there are a lot of outliers like that.
Yeah, and something that stands out is Schaub draws yet another walk. That is his nation-leading 25th walk. So no one in the country has more walks than Brian Schaub. But it doesn't get much easier as Jack Vonderhaar steps into the plate. He's second on the Tigers with 5 home runs and 7th in the nation with 27 runs batted in.
Yeah, and you have two guys in a row who have combined for 11 of the Tigers' 18 home runs on the season to this point. This could become a one-run game with one swing of the bat right here.
Vonderhaar waiting for the 1-0 pitch. And he drives that towards right center field, and that is cut off by the right fielder, holding Vonderhaar to a single, but Schaub is able to get to third base. But the Tigers have something cooking here as they look to respond to Austin College's 3 runs in the top half of the inning.
Yeah, and that's a snappy defensive play because if that goes under the glove, that's 1 RBI and another in scoring position.
And that'll bring MJ Metz to the plate, the redshirt sophomore from San Diego, California. Great opportunity with runners on the corners and nobody out. Metz takes a look at that first ball.
Yeah, and so far with that increased velocity from pitcher Ryan Culp, we've seen some more solid contact from Tiger hitters tonight.
Culp looks over to first base and delivers the 1-0. That's outside. Metz gets a 2-0 count. So the pressure really building already for Culp after a clean 1-2-3 first inning. Now the 2-0. Metz looks at that one down low. Now a 3-0 count. Pitches in there for a called strike. And Culp really doesn't want to load the bases for Jack Wisniewski on deck, who had 4 runs batted in last night. So we'll have to throw a strike here and hope for the best. And the 3-1 is grounded, but that bounces over the third baseman. And Metz gets a run batted in as Brian Schaub crosses home plate, and the Tigers are on the board. You see that hop over the third baseman, Alphonse, not tall enough to get that one. And a tough break for Culp on a decent result for him off the bat, but just wrong placement.
Yeah, that was a good two-seam fastball right there from Culp, and he ran it in on the hands of Metz a little bit, but just a lucky break for the Tiger hitter right there as that one got up over the third baseman's head.
Now junior Jack Wisniewski steps into the plate. He looks at the first pitch, come in for a ball down and away.
And I think with Culp at this point in the game, I think you can see a pretty clear trend if you're watching his pitches. He's looking to locate outer half at all costs. And I think it doesn't matter what the count is, doesn't matter how many outs are, how many people are on base. That seems to be the plan, lefty or righty. If it's a lefty, he's going to let his two-seam run out onto the outer edge of the plate. He's going to try and bring his breaking ball in to catch an edge, and the same thing on the opposite side, since those pitches move in opposite directions. So we'll see if it works out for him. I think it's a good strategy with these Tiger hitters. Keep it away from their power as much as you can. Try to get ground balls off of the two-seamer, but it's a tough, tough lineup to navigate, and you have to be so on with your location if you're going to try and do that all game.
Yeah, it's a tricky task to juggle for the Kangaroos pitcher. And right now he has a 2-1 count after Wisniewski squared around a bunt. More like a base hit style, not a sacrifice in this situation, but not on that last pitch. So we'll see what he does on this 2-1 count. And Colt steps off as Vonderhaar is jumping around back there, second base, distracting him.
But it is good to note that that is the approach that most of the Ruse pitchers have taken this weekend in this series, trying to attack the outer half of the plate.
And Wisniewski scores around a bunt again, and he gets down a nice one, and that'll move the runners over to second and third as he's called out at first himself. So Culp gets the first out of the inning, but the Tigers have the tying run in scoring position. So a productive out right there for Wisniewski. And that'll bring up Michael Goodrich, who has the opportunity to tie the game here for the Tigers.
And a big reason I think that these Ruse pitchers have been attacking the outside half of the plate, no matter righty or lefty in the batter's box, is because this is a real hard-hitting Tigers lineup. They're real aggressive. They're really looking to pull the ball. And last night that resulted in a lot of pitches that were rolled over on and grounded in the infield.
Yeah, and that first pitch breaking ball called a strike on Goodrich, and now he sees a similar pitch go just a bit more outside. Culp readies his 1-1 pitch, and Goodrich tries to check his swing, but the home plate umpire looks to be talking to the Austin College dugout. We'll see right here with this great replay angle. Looks like he did go around.
I'm not sure if they got the call on that one, though, and I think that might have been some words from the umpire coming from the Austin College dugout.
Yeah, it looks to be a 2-1 count for Goodrich. And now that one is outside again. So a 3-1 count with 2 runners on. That's a tough break for Culp, getting a swinging strike and not getting it called. And Goodrich sends that one right towards center field. 1 run scores, the second one is on its way, and the throw won't even get to home plate, and this ball game is tied just like that. Michael Goodrich with a 2 RBI single, and this game is tied at 3.
Yeah, great piece of hitting by Goodrich right there. Talked about pitchers attacking the outside part of the plate, and when you're getting pitches middle away, you got to make sure you wait back on them, let them get deep into the zone, and then send them back up the middle or push them into the opposite field, and that's exactly what Goodrich did with that one.
So the Ruse' first lead in 4 games did not last very long, as the Tigers struck back really quickly, and now a first pitch ball, and Goodrich steals second base in the process. So Culp a little distracted by the 3 runs he's given up and not keeping an eye on Goodrich over there at first. So now another opportunity with a runner in scoring position, this time for catcher Tyler Pettit. And he fouls that one towards the Tigers dugout. Culp's 1-1 pitch to Pettit on its way, and Pettit pulls that one foul, so just early again.
And that's a couple of pitches now that Pettit's been early on in this at bat and pulled foul, and you have to wonder if that has something to do with last night's game.
That 1-2 pitch, another check swing. Looks like Pettit held on to that one. Umpire checks, but it is in fact a ball. So Culp not having very much luck with those check swings in this half inning. Now a 2-2 count for Pettit. And he drives that one way back to left field, but it is just shy of the warning track, and it is caught by Nick Flynn out there in left field. That looked like it was going to go farther than it did, and that's the second out of the inning for the Tigers.
Well, you know me, Brian. I am easily excitable, so when I saw this come off the bat, I was ready to get out of my seat. Just held up in the wind, though, it looked like.
Yeah, it looked like with the movement on Culp's pitch, he's been throwing that two-seam fastball. That one might have gotten a little bit in on the hands of Pettit right there, and he just didn't have enough to get it over the wall in left field.
That first pitch is in for a strike to leadoff hitter Rafe Chomet, who's back up for the second time already in the second inning. He was retired in his first at-bat, but he looks to drive in a run with 2 outs here, give the Tigers the lead, and he drives that one to center field. Center fielder throws it in. Will be a close play at the plate, but it will not be, actually, as the throw is cut off, and Rafe Chomet drives in the 4th run of the inning for the Tigers.
And we have seen some absolute ropes off the bats this inning. There's another one from Chomet, scores a run, and this inning just keeps on continuing for Culp, who's been on the mound for quite some time at this point.
Yeah, lots of action here in the second inning. After Austin College played at 3, the Tigers have responded with 4, and they are still at the plate. Chomet making some good contact today. His first at-bat lined out to the pitcher, and that time got it well over the pitcher and into center field. Culp makes sure to check on Rafe over there at first, as we saw Goodrich just steal a base that allowed him to score on that single. So as you've been talking about, Sam, every base that you can get matters.
Absolutely it does, and I think that's sort of the nature of baseball. Is it's a lot of little things that add up to action, and sometimes you can miss those little components to the game, those little battles like trying to keep a runner on first, or trying to make that relay throw a little bit quicker to hold a runner. But all of those little things add up, and they're the margins that decide games sometimes.
And it looks like Rafe is off and going, and he has stolen second base. So another stolen base for the Tigers in this inning. And Herrera will get an opportunity to drive in that run, as you see Rafe get a great jump and slide in there easily.
Yeah, and that's the second stolen base in this series out of that right field position. Last night we saw Ezra Gore enter the game for Chomet and have that same type of production on the base paths.
Culp has that breaking pitch just outside. Now a 1-2 count for Herrera. For Culp already at 43 pitches after a very quick first inning. And Herrera grounds that to second base. And that is the third out of the inning. But not before the Tigers claim the lead after being down 3 and putting across 4 runs in the bottom half of this inning. They have a 4-3 lead over Austin College, and we will be right back for the third inning. We are back here at Trinity's campus as the baseball team leads 4-3 after an action-packed second inning. Chavana back on the mound, and that ball is fouled back by left fielder Nick Flynn. Luke can't even catch our breath after that second inning.
I know, lots of excitement in this one so far. And if you're Austin College, you have to be really happy with the fact that you got 3 runs, even though you're trailing in this one. You got 3 runs from the bottom half of your order, and now you have the heart of your lineup back up there trying to produce some more.
Yeah, for them have to hope that scoring those runs and then seeing them immediately responded to doesn't demoralize a team that's really struggled to score on the year as Flynn swings through that pitch to get a 1-2 count from Chavana. And for Chavana, after allowing 3 runs, has to be a real confidence boost to get that lead back.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in that last half inning when he was getting roughed up a little bit, the best thing that a catcher can go out and tell him is that there's a defense playing behind them, but that same defense is going to go in and they're going to swing the bats in the next half inning.
And Chavana paints that corner perfectly as Flynn goes down looking on strikes. So a good response here in the third inning on the first batter for Chavana. That'll bring up second baseman Zach Mahoney.
And we've seen Mahoney be real aggressive at the plate in this series this far. But he watches that first pitch, and it seems like he's had more success when he's been a little bit more patient at the plate.
Yeah, and patient so far in this at-bat as he has a 2-0 count. Chavana delivers the 2-0, and Mahoney pops it up in the infield. Vonderhaar gets underneath it and catches the pop-up for the second out of the inning. That one might look easy, but with no clouds in the sky and a sunny day, I know that one's a tough one.
Yeah, good play by Vonderhaar to take his time, make sure he camps out under it, and secures it in his glove.
And now Justin Alphonse, who barely had time to step into the plate before getting hit on the first pitch, swings through that one for the first strike. But that got the rally going for the Roos, allowing them to score 3 runs.
But so far, a really nice response from Chavana. Has recorded the first 2 outs of this inning and is well on his way to get the third right here.
And working very quickly as well, as he has a 2-1 count now on Alphonse, but not wasting much time as he gets the ball back from Pettit and gets right back on the rubber. And Alphonse lines that one to right field, but it drops in foul.
Yeah, and that's an important note to understand that Siobhan is working a little faster right now. It seems like he's getting into a little bit of a rhythm, has the confidence of those 4 runs behind them, and he's really starting to pump it in there, attacking hitters.
Yeah, and he tried to get Alphonse to chase that breaking ball in the dirt, but he laid off, and now we have a 3-2 count. 2 outs, nobody on for Alphonse. Now the 3-2 is flied out to shortstop for Herrera. Easy out, and another 1-2-3 inning, just like the first. Chavana maintains the lead for the Tigers, 4-3 heading to the bottom of the 3rd inning. As Mason Meredith steps into the plate, we are back in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Ryan Culp throws in that first strike. And Luke, for Culp, a tough inning, giving up 4 runs. So how does he respond to that?
I think he needs to just settle in right here, keep attacking the zone, understand that there were some tough breaks. The ball off the bat of MJ Metz just happened to hop over his third baseman's head. Keep attacking the zone, understanding that that's the only way he's going to be able to record outs in this one.
Culp has a 1-2 count on Meredith. And Meredith fouls that one, but the Shears can't hold onto it behind the plate, so he will stay in for this at-bat. And that one was pretty close. Meredith looked buckled up by the breaking ball. That was maybe supposed to be outside, but ended up inside. Resulting now in a 2-2 count. And Meredith continues to battle with another foul ball.
Yeah, that last breaking ball was a really good pitch. It just looked like, as you said, its original destination was supposed to be on the outside part of the zone.
And that was just outside, on the outside corner, according to the home plate umpire, who strikes out Mason Meredith. So a good pitch right there for Colt, painting the outside corner after nearly getting him on that breaking ball you were talking about.
Yeah, and that's, again, another great pitcher's pitch right there. Culp has been throwing that two-seam fastball, and that one just came back and caught the outside part of the plate for that strike.
And Schaub looks at that first pitch for a strike on the inside corner. Schaub muscles that one back foul. Schaub got the rally going for the Tigers in the second inning with a walk, something he is so good at doing. He was the first run to come across of 4. But now he's behind 1-2 as Culp looks to respond with a 1-2-3 inning himself.
It's a great job right there by Schaub. Late recognition of the breaking ball, but he does everything he can to just fight that one off and keep this at-bat going. Last night, in his last 2 at-bats, we saw him strike out, but we definitely saw him respond as he lined one off the wall in left field, which actually caromed about 90 feet back into center, which just goes to show you how much power this guy at the plate has.
Yeah, certainly have to be careful with him, and goes to show even getting an 0-2 count on him, he's now evened it back up at 2-2. Just a very patient hitter, knows what he's looking for. And he tried to wait back on that 2-2 breaking ball, but he pops it up in foul territory, but it drops as the catcher and third baseman are not able to come up with that. That's Alphonse at third and Bashir's behind the plate. And we mentioned it in last inning when Vonderhaar caught the pop-up. Not an easy thing to do in this sunny day.
And that's a nice break for Schaub right there as that one's dropped. Allows him to step back into the batter's box and get kind of a do-over in this at-bat.
And really tough for Culp. You finally think you got such a hot hitter out. You have to face him yet again. But that is no problem for Culp as he gets another strikeout looking. Schaub looking flustered as he heads back to the dugout.
And that's a great pitch right there. Culp seems like he's really settled into this half inning, and he's attacking the zone, which is made easier by the fact that he really has his stuff working right now. In that last strikeout, we saw that two-seam fastball come back over the outside part of the plate, and that time he threw the slider, and it caught the bottom corner of the zone.
Now Jack Vonderhaar, who drove a single to the right center field gap last inning, steps in for his second at-bat. With 2 out and nobody on, that breaking ball is inside. Umpire asked the third base umpire if he went around, and it looks like he did not. So a 1-1 count. That's the third check swing that goes against Culp. And that ball is in the dirt. So 2 balls and 1 strike on Vonderhaar.
And that one is away again. And with a lefty, what you're typically going to see at the plate is a pull-happy type of hitter. And that's certainly the case for a guy that's hit 5 home runs, second on this team so far. And for Culp, he doesn't want to mess with that, and he issues a walk to Vonderhaar right here.
Yeah, that pitch was close on the outside corner, but umpire calls ball 4, and Vonderhaar heads over to first base, extending the inning and bringing MJ Metz to the plate, who drove in a run with a bouncing single that hopped over the third baseman and got the scoring going for the Tigers. That pitch is called a strike, so that outside corner, low and away, looks to be there for Culp.
Absolutely. And when you have a guy that's 6'5" at the plate, that's about the only place you'd feel comfortable putting that pitch.
Yeah, Metz certainly a commanding presence at the plate. Culp ready to deliver the 0-2 pitch, and that is just outside for a ball, looking for his third strikeout of the inning, but not quite yet. And Metz swings through that one. High fastball. And Colt strikes out the side. So an impressive response to him after giving up 4 runs in the second. Trinity still holds on to a 4-3 lead over Austin College as we head to the top of the 4th inning. We will be right back. We are back here in the 4th inning, and we have a new pitcher. First-year Harrison DeRoe from Dallas. Chavana, the starter in this game, threw 3 innings, gave up 3 unearned runs, struck out 2. Luke, what did you think about how he did today?
I think his performance was deceivingly good, right? He exited the game after not giving up 3 runs, right? He was hurt in large part by some errors in the field from the Tigers, a little bit, something that we're not used to seeing from this Trinity lineup for sure. But overall, I think he came back out after he was roughed up and he settled in, and I think more than anything, he exits today's game due to a little bit of an elevated pitch count.
Yeah, and he leaves with a lead, and now DeRoe, his replacement, starts out his afternoon with a 3-0 count on Brandon Evans. Able to get that one in for a strike. DeRoe in a little bit earlier than we're used to. He has 2 saves this year. Is 5th in the SCAC with a 2.81 ERA. So he's been a big part of this early season success for the Tigers, and now has battled back to make the count 3-2 on Evans. And that ball is just outside, so Evans draws the walk to start the inning as the Roos look to get back and tie the game or take the lead. If you're just joining us, they took a 3-0 lead in the second inning, but they saw that disappear quite quickly with the Tigers scoring 4 in the same inning. But we had a scoreless third, and here we are in the 4th with the Tigers leading 4-3. Brandon Hill stepping into the plate, and he grounds it to third. Metz gets it to second and on to first for the 5-4-3 double play. So a nice effort for DeRoe to get 2 outs after walking the leadoff hitter.
And just as quickly as that threat started, it was erased as that double play was turned by the Tigers. We've seen some good swings by Hill in this series this far. Unfortunate that one was hit right at Metz at third base.
That looping breaking ball is too high to Ballard, who has a 2-0 count, now with 2 outs and nobody on after that double play. And he just nicks that off the bat for a foul ball. Now a 2-1 count for Ballard. Make that 2-2 as he looks at that one down in the zone. So 2-2 count as Gerald looks to get out of his first inning on the mound. And he swings and misses at that one. So a good response from DeRoe and a quick inning at the end of it for the Tigers as they maintain their 4-3 lead heading to the bottom of the 4th inning. Jack Wisniewski steps into the plate in the bottom of the 4th inning. Ryan Colt still on the mound for Austin College. He's given up 4 runs, all of them earned. Unlike Chavana for Trinity giving up 3 unearned runs. And a little check swing foul ball towards the Trinity dugout.
You might have seen Austin College playing in the shift for the left-handed hitting Wisniewski at the plate right now. But what the batter did a great job of last night was using the opposite field, trying to send things through the gaps in the defense.
Yeah, and he hits that one to the opposite way. But the third baseman, Alphonse, is there to record the out. So right there, what you were just saying, Wisniewski looking to go the other way, but just not the right placement. That'll bring up Michael Goodridge, who had a big 2 RBI hit in the 2nd inning to tie the game. He looks at that one for a ball. Sam, what do you think about what we've seen so far?
You know, I mean, it's a little intriguing. I think that, you know, in fairness, Culp, I think, has done a pretty good job. Stuck to the game plan, gotten some softer than usual contact. The command at times hasn't been there, so there have been some balls left over the plate that were hit hard. There have been some walks, but I do think overall it's just a tough game plan to execute, and so it's been a good job by Austin College pitching. On the other side of things, Trinity's been hitting well. Their defense has had some rough moments, as this one is grounded softly to first. But again, I think it's a good overall game, and how upset can you be when you're leading, right? So I'll be interested to see where the pitching takes us this game. It's going to be some mixing and matching. Um, it was a decent enough opening, and hopefully things get stronger as the game goes on.
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting with this team. Even yesterday, it didn't feel like the best game in the whole world, yet you turn around and before you know it, they're winning 9-0. So just such a talented team at the plate, on the mound, and even not their best games are pretty good.
Yeah, and I think to your point, that's just what great teams do. They grind out results, and even right now, 4-3. Has it been a great game? No. Are you one run up? Yeah, you're one run up. So if you clean up some things in the latter half of this game, you're sitting pretty and you get the dub. That's all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, and as Tyler Pettit looks at that called strike to bring the count to 1-1, grinding out wins is exactly how you get to a 14-1 record with 7 consecutive wins and the top seed in the entire country. As Pettit lines that to Alphonse, but he is right there. So a very quick 4th inning for Culp and the Kangaroos. The score remains 4-3 as we head to the 5th inning here in San Antonio. Giroux is back on the mound in the 5th inning and starts it off with a called strike on Garrett Gray, the sophomore from Forney, Texas. He is 0 for 1 on the day. And another strike right there. Sam Dureau has only been in there for 1 inning, but what have you seen from him so far?
I really like the fastball. As you can see there, it has a little bit of life on it, but the velocity is nice. It comes from a pretty standard arm slot, but I would say from that arm slot, maybe the spin is a little bit non-standard. So I like that it has a little bit of deception to it. And overall, it just seems very composed on the mound so far. We'll see how it progresses through the game as the pitch count gets up, but 17 innings already on the season, so it's not like this is somebody who's going to gas out in 10 pitches.
Yeah, and you saw that strikeout on that fastball that you mentioned. His 2nd strikeout already in 4 batters, bringing Bo Bashirs to the plate.
Yeah, and I think for Dureau, what we've seen so far is that when his timing is on, his mechanics are working together. He's really good attacking downhill, putting the pitch in positions where it's not very hittable for the guy standing in the batter's box. When things have been off for him so far with his mechanics, it looks like he's missing up a little bit, but right now settling in his second inning on the mound today, and he looks like he's dominating so far.
And Luke, do you think that's a matter of sort of controlling the balance and keeping the head whack in check?
I think the issues that he's had so far are with that throwing arm falling behind a little bit, and that's what's resulted in some pitches up in the zone so far.
Well, that pitch up in the zone was right there for a called third strike, so yet another strikeout for Harrison Durow, his third on the day and second consecutive in this inning, for 2 quick outs, bringing Jake Webster to the plate, the leadoff hitter for Austin College. And Durow working quickly as well, like Chavana, not letting y'all get your comments in before he can strike out another one.
You know, I love it, though. I mean, just keep the batter under pressure.
Yeah, and it's something that I think this Tiger pitching staff puts an emphasis on, knowing that their hitters are going to produce runs pretty much game in and game out. It's important that you go out and you attack hitters, right? Even if the guy at the plate puts the bat on the ball, have faith in the defense that they're going to come through. And at the end of the day, if you give up a couple of runs, you have faith that this Tiger offense is going to meet their average of 10 on the year.
Yeah, and Webster pops that one up, and that is caught for the third out of the inning. So a very fast-paced 5th inning for Durow and the Tigers. They will come to bat, still up 4-3 in the bottom of the 5th. We will be right back. Rafe Chomet is back in the batter's box to lead off this 5th inning. And he lines that one foul. And if you are enjoying this game as much as we are, make sure to stick around for the second half of the doubleheader, scheduled for 4 p.m. or roughly 30 minutes after the conclusion of this one, whichever comes first. But we would love to have you here on the Tiger Network. Such a beautiful day for baseball, as Chomet looks at that one outside. And I have to mention that yesterday might have been opening day for most, but today's the real opening day because the Baltimore Orioles are finally on the field.
You know, I'll tell you what, my opening day with the Astros ran into this morning, so a little grounder there from Chomet to get the first out of the inning. But I'm excited, man. MLB opening day, fans are starting to come back. I mean, I have no idea who's good anymore. 2020 was so crazy. It's kind of how I feel about all sports. People are coming back, and who knows what improvements have been made and who's going to break out. It's all incredibly exciting to me.
Yeah, and right there, actually, Chomet looks like the umpire called it a foul ball, so he's back in the batter's box. And he pops that up to left field, but plenty of time to get there. for Flynn, and he records the first out. And while you mentioned that fans are coming back to games in Major League Baseball, we don't have fans, unfortunately, yet here, but we have some great cardboard cutouts behind home plate and around the infield. And so if you see yourself in the cardboard cutout, please let us know. You can comment on the chat if you are watching. We are grateful to have you watching, grateful to have a puppy behind home, as we discussed last night. All sorts of Tigers fans here in San Antonio. And Herrera looks at that one for a strike, 1-1 count. Culp has really settled in here after a rough second inning.
Yeah, and I think he did a really great job last inning, keeping his pitch count down. He really seemed to have things working in terms of that two-seam fastball and that slider specifically. He's gotten one down this inning, and he's ahead in the count here against Herrera. So if he can get another quick one here, he might be back out there for another inning.
Yeah, and that one is just low. But he had a 1-2-3 inning in the fourth and then walked one in the third, but had no damage. So a lot better control of the game after giving up 4 runs and the lead. And Herrera looks at that one. Swerve outside, bringing the count full, 3-2, as the heart of the Tigers order gets ready to bat. And Herrera swings through that one and slams his bat on home plate. He wanted that one. But it is another strikeout for Culp. That is his 4th on the day.
And Luke, as you mentioned, he is rolling right now and could conceivably go at least one more inning, depending on how the coaching staff feels about pushing him. Been really impressed with his ability to execute the game plan so far.
Yeah, and based on what we've seen out of Culp this year in the box scores.
Yeah, as Meredith grounds it to first on a little check swing, and before you can even get your comment in, that's the 3rd out of the inning, so that just shows how fast Culp is working. But we will be right back for the top of the 6th inning. After lots of action in the 2nd inning, things have slowed down a little bit, but the pitching has taken over. So we will be right back here in San Antonio. Harrison Durow is back on the mound for a 3rd inning, and Flynn lines that one, but it is caught by third baseman MJ Metz. Quick reaction time at the hot corner, called that for a reason, and a quick first out.
And as you said, great reaction time right here, but Metz definitely aided by that 6'5" frame as he went full reach for that one and hauled it in.
Now Durow loops in a breaking ball for a called 3rd strike on Mahoney. Tries to get in another one of the same fashion, but that one is just high. Mahoney 0 for 2 today, but is Austin College's leading hitter coming into today. Now he has a 2-1 count to work with. And that one is in the dirt. So after getting that first pitch called strike, Mahoney has seen 3 balls, giving him a good hitter's count to work with. And Mahoney grounds that to Metz once again, ranges to the other side and gets the out at first base. Vonder Haar over there. So 2 quick outs.
Yeah, and that was a good job by Dureau right there. After falling behind early in that count, settled in, threw one down the middle, and was able to record the out.
Now, Justin Alphonse in at the plate, cleanup hitter. Ruse looking for their first hit since the second inning. And that one is fouled again towards Metz, so seeing lots of action in this half inning. But Alphonse will step back into the plate.
And a really challenging repertoire being thrown by Dureau right now. We talked about that fastball really coming downhill at hitters.
And for the second time today, Alphonse is hit by a pitch, leaned into that one a little bit, and he will get the free pass to first base.
And that looked like it was the breaking ball. And as I was saying, real tough for these hitters when that fastball coming in as hot as it is paired with a breaking ball that's as big and looping as Dureau's has been today.
And that pitch is outside to Brandon Evans, the senior from Roswell, New Mexico. He walked in his last time up. That pitch is called a strike. 1-1 count. Evans was actually the first hitter that Dureau faced, and he reached, but no runner had reached base until that very hit by pitch. That breaking ball is looped in there for a strike, so nice action there from Dureau as he looks to strand that runner at first base and bring the Trinity bats back up. The 1-2 is just outside.
Not a bad pitch right there. Looked like it was close to that outside corner, but with Pettit not anticipating that one to end up there.
That one is right where he wanted it, and Evans swings right through it. So Dureau gets another strikeout to wrap up the top half of the 6th inning. Trinity still up 4-3 over Austin College. You see right there still 2 hits for Austin College, 4 for Trinity, and they look to get some more as they come to bat in the bottom of the 6th. And as we get back here in the bottom of the 6th inning with Brian Schaub getting set to bat, Sam, this is going to be the 3rd time through the order for the Tigers. What are you looking for here?
You know, Brian, I get the sense that this is maybe the point in the game where Trinity could press their advantage and pull away a little bit. Could put up a bit of a crooked number on the inning sheet here. It's not anything guaranteed, but you have Culp at 90 pitches. Again, hitters have seen his stuff a couple of times now, and this just seems like the part of the lineup that's likely to do it if it's going to happen. So we'll see if they can take advantage of that, or if Austin College is going to get to their bullpen smoothly and try to keep this a one-run game.
Yeah, and Kolb at 89 pitches now, but no stranger to going deep into games. He pitched 8 innings in his last outing against Texas Lutheran in Seguin. That was a losing effort for the Kangaroos, but they only lost 4-2, so he kept them in that game for most of that, and keeping Austin College in this game as well.
Certainly seems like an easy, repeatable delivery as well, Brian, and I think that really adds to his ability.
As Schaub drops in a single on an 0-2 count, so good two-strike hitting.
And in that last outing for Colt, it looks like, based on the box score, he threw 131 pitches in that game. So only around that 90 pitch mark today. So it looks like he could be in for a similar outing in this one.
And to be honest, just, given the way that I've seen pitchers used before, it would not surprise me if he stays in, even if Trinity's offense gets something going. They're not going to want to go to their bullpen until they have to. Kolb is their guy.
And the last time Trinity did get something going, they had a similar recipe for it, as Schaub got a walk in the second inning, followed by a Von der Haar single that got the Tigers going to score 4 runs. So now Schaub getting on with a single, and Von der Haar at the plate looks at the 1-0 pitch outside to go up 2-0 on the count. And that single from Schaub, not something we're used to seeing, as 10 of his prior 15 hits had been for extra bases. So a single is not something we're used to seeing from Schaub. Used to seeing it go out of the ballpark or for extra bases. That ball is high as well, so now a 3-0 count for Von der Haar. This is the heart of the Tigers' order, so Kolb has to be careful. We'll see if Von der Haar swings on 3-0, and he does not, as that one is high and outside. So now 2 runners on as Von der Haar walks over to first base.
And that's 2 straight 4-pitch walks issued to Von der Haar. So it's clear and obvious that the right-hander is not willing to mess around with the hard-hitting lefty.
Luke, I don't know if you agree with this, but to me, when you have that 2-seamer breaking towards that side of the plate and then trying to land the breaking ball there, to me, against the lefty, that feels like the harder part of the game plan to execute.
And right there, Met squares around to bunt, and that is a fair ball. That stays right on the line. Colt thought that would go foul, but it did not. And now the Tigers have the bases loaded with nobody out. You see the bunt right there. Perfectly placed, dives right on the foul line.
Yeah, and back to what you were saying, I think that you're correct in that trying to pair that 2-seam fastball with that slider against the lefty is going to be a real challenge for the right-hander in this one. Really, the only chance you have is to throw that 2-seamer in.
Wisniewski lines that to short, but it is corralled, and a double play for Austin College. Nicely turned right there by the Kangaroos defense. So a run does score, but about the best thing you can ask for. You see the replay right there. Wisniewski hit it hard, but right at the shortstop. Webster, who turns it with Mahoney. So the Tigers now up 5-3 in the bottom of the 6th.
And Luke, I sort of agree with you. I think it's worth thinking about whether the game plan should just stay left edge of the plate, regardless of the handedness of the hitter. And I know they want to stay away from the power, but just the way that those 2 pitches work together and just sticking to location all game, I think it's something that merits thinking about at the very least.
Yeah, and I'd agree with you on that one. I think as Culp has gone along in this one, his stuff has gotten better, and I think we have seen a little bit, especially in at bats where he's struck hitters out. He has started to move in towards the batters, either throwing that slider into lefties or using that two seam, getting some action, moving the baseball back towards the right-handed hitters.
Yeah, he's definitely gotten stronger as this game has gone on and begun to challenge a little bit, which I like to see, honestly.
Now Michael Goodrich with a 1-2 count, and he grounds that to shortstop. Webster once again gets that one and throws him out for the third out of the inning. Trinity gets one run but had the bases loaded, and so Austin College gets out of that inning with limited damage. As we head to the seventh inning, the Tigers are up 5-3 over Austin College. We will be right back. Brandon Hill sees the first pitch of the seventh inning come in just high for a ball. DeRoe on for what would be his fourth inning after replacing starter Justin Chavana, who threw 3 innings and allowed 3 unearned runs, but since then, no action on the board for Austin College. And as another breaking ball loops in just high, Sam, what have you seen from Austin College offensively that has resulted in them not scoring since that second inning?
You know, I think part of it has just been facing some good pitching. You know, DeRoe's fastball has been on. He hasn't missed in dangerous spots very often. But I do think that, you know, part of it is just bats a ball. Haven't seen enough of it.
And Hill makes good contact, but right to shortstop Michael Herrera, who guns him down at first for the out.
And I think that out is a perfect example of that. You know, it's good enough contact, you know, if it's placed in the right spot. But I don't know if you would class it as, like, dangerous contact. And I think that that's what Austin College has been lacking a little bit today, is that dangerous contact. Especially because, you know, as a pitcher, I know even if you make contact, now I'm not too worried about it, right? So I think seeing a little bit more of that, even just like long fly balls sometimes, I think that would add to their offensive ability and maybe see them get back into this game a little, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, now Logan Ballard steps into the plate with 1 out, and not only no runs since that second inning, but no hits for Austin College as Ballard looks to change that, and he does. Gets it in the right center field gap. That is cut off to hold him to a single, but as I was mentioning, their first hit since the second inning. So the Roos look to get going thanks to this hit from Ballard.
But I think a big part of things so far have been, or has been, the fact that Trinity's defense has really been shored up since that inning in which they allowed those 3 runs, right? We talked a little bit about how this staff on the day has given up 0 earned runs as that one's hauled in at second base, almost doubled up at first as well. But Austin College has done a decent job putting the ball in play in this one. It's just been a matter of the fact that the Tiger defense has really stepped up since that inning.
Yeah, and you got a replay right there at that near double play. But we saw some uncharacteristic play from the Tigers defense that you're mentioning. 4 errors in the first 2 innings that led to those 3 Austin College runs. But since then, they have definitely shored things up.
Yeah, and I think to that point, some actual gems like that Herrera play, cutting behind the third baseman and making a long throw. So not just shoring it up, but really excelling as well.
Now Duro faces catcher Bo Bashirs, gets ahead of him 0-1 before throwing that one outside. 0-2 count actually now, that's 1-2. But for Austin College, you have to be a little bit happy with not only that base hit, but that hard contact. Again, wrong placement, but now Duro says, I'm not going to let you make contact this time, as he strikes out Bashirs and maintains Trinity's lead at 5-3, not letting the Kangaroos creep any closer. It is time to stretch here in San Antonio. Tigers are up 5-3, and we will be right back. We hope that you got up and stretched like we did here in San Antonio on the broadcast, and now we're ready for Tyler Pettit, the number 9 hitter, to face Ryan Culp, who's still in the game now with 103 pitches on the day. Sam, you think he's in it for the long haul?
Yeah, I really do. And we talked about whether Austin College can make a smooth transition to that bullpen or not. That's mostly due to score, I think, not necessarily when it happens. I think we're going to see 120, 125 pitches, and if that's enough to get all the way through the 8th, then it's going to go all the way through the 8th, even if Trinity puts up 2 or 3 more runs. Again, we'll have to see, but I think that this is going to the 8th pretty much no matter what, barring an absolute disaster.
Yeah, and he's on his way with that quick out to start the inning, just a lazy pop-up in the infield. And now the lineup turns over, so this will be the 4th time that the Tigers see Colt, so this could definitely be a troublesome spot for Colt, but we'll see how Rafe Chomet does, and he drives that into right field for a base hit. That's his 2nd of the day, and just what we've come to expect from Rafe, who's the leading hit gatherer on the Tigers.
Yeah, I love Rafe. I mean, super talented, but also really, really hardworking. Just a good clubhouse guy, it seems, and runs hard, steals bases, gets hits, puts things in the gap, has some over-the-fence pop, too. Just a really solid all-around player who I admire a lot.
Yeah, and he's also a stolen base threat, but Herrera's not going to give him that chance as he lines it past the third baseman Chomet immediately gets to third, and Herrera will coast into second base with a double. So some big hits right here for the Tigers, setting them up for some more runs possibly in the bottom half of the 7th inning. Chomet lining into right, and now Herrera with that base hit to left field. Now looks like we'll get a visit to the mound. Haven't seen many of these today, as Colt's been on his game for the most part. There is someone warming up in the bullpen. But it does not look like he will be called upon just yet. Luke, what do you think Coach is saying to Colt right here?
I think he's encouraging his pitcher right now, trying to get him to understand that contact is a part of the game. It's just a matter that the Tigers have put the ball in some tough spots for the infield to get to. So just keep working. I think that pitch count is still going to be set at that 125 mark that we've talked about. Trying to get out of this inning quickly, even if it is at the expense of allowing a run or two to pass right here.
So now Colt is back and ready to go, facing Mason Meredith, who swings past that first pitch. Good downward action on that one to get him swinging.
Yeah, that was one of the tighter breaking balls that I think we've seen today. Really good shape to it.
Meredith fouls that one towards the Tigers' dugout. Down 0-2, so after that visit to the mound, good comeback so far from Colt. See if he can finish it off. 0-2 count on Meredith. Runners on second and third with one out. Meredith looks at that one. Outside and down. With 2 strikes here, trying to get him to chase. And now the 1-2 from Colt is bounced back up the middle. Webster gets it and throws it past the first baseman after a nice play at shortstop by Webster. That gets just past Ballard, who couldn't control the bounce, and a run is driven in. Look at that replay, a great spinning throw, but Ballard couldn't keep it in front of him, and 2 runs actually come in to score as Herrera came in right behind Chomet.
Yeah, and that's the second time this weekend that we've seen something like that happen at first base for the Roos. Another ball that's thrown low, and it kind of catches the first baseman in between. Not sure if he's going to have to pick it, and that one just kicks off the glove, rolls towards the Roos dugout.
And now Schaub sends it right back to Webster, who gets another chance at it, and that one a lot easier for the second out of the inning. But yeah, definitely a tough break for Colt and the Kangaroos after a beautiful play by Webster really at shortstop. Just couldn't finish it off at first base. That'll bring up Jack Vonderhaar with 2 outs now and a runner in scoring position. Tigers have expanded their lead 7-3. Vonderhaar looks at that one low, and you can see our cardboard fans blowing back and forth as the wind picks up here in San Antonio. The dust around the plate. Vonderhaar looks at that one as well, so now up 2-0. Vonderhaar leads the team with 27 runs batted in. Looks to get his 28th right here. And he flies it out to left field. Looks like it might be a tough play. And it is down as a fair ball. Vonderhaar gets into second base as he placed that perfectly. Left fielder Nick Flynn couldn't get to it. We see the replay right here. You could see Flynn was over toward center field and couldn't get there in time. Bounced off the wall. And Vonderhaar with his team-leading 28th RBI.
I think that's sort of the power of Vonderhaar on display there, because off the bat, that didn't look like it was necessarily the most well-hit ball we'd seen from him, and yet still all the way out to the track and off the wall.
And as y'all predicted, even with the Tigers scoring a few runs right here, Culp remains in the game, having thrown 114 pitches and now faces MJ Metz, who sees that one thrown in for a strike.
Luke, I don't know if you'll agree with this, but to me the problem this inning for Culp hasn't necessarily been the breaking ball. I think the breaking ball has still been pretty tight, and it's been located fairly well. For me, it's just a little bit of the fastball command diminishing and being left in some bad spots.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one, and I think it's Tiger hitters starting to understand that Culp's breaking ball is really legit. So they're taking more of those pitches, and they have swung at a lot more fastball strikes in this inning, and I think that is exactly what you've mentioned right now.
And Culp is able to get a breaking ball on the inside corner there. But you could even see him get a little bit tired, as that was a good breaking ball, but was meant to be outside. Ended up inside. Still for a strike, but not exactly where he wanted it. And MJ Metz right there able to lay off the outside pitch. Of course, today is a doubleheader, and the Roos used 4 pitchers last night. And so Culp probably taking a bigger load than he might usually, having a second game right behind this one. And that wild pitch gets behind the catcher Bashirs, allowing Vonderhaar to scurry on over to third base.
And for me, Brian, I think we're sort of reaching that point where maybe the coaching staff is going to consider taking Culp out. It's right on that edge where you don't want to let a guy go too far into the game and, risk injury or anything like that, but it's getting to that point where you're not sure if there's enough left in the tank to end the inning, even though there is just 1 out left.
Yeah, there are 2 outs, but Metz draws the walk there on the 3-2 pitch, but no sign of any action from the Roos dugout, so it looks like Culp will remain out there as Jack Wisniewski comes back. Wisniewski's last at-bat was with the bases loaded and nobody out, and he lined a ball to shortstop that looked like it was going to drive in a few, but it was actually turned into a double play. A nice turn by the Roos infield, but Wisniewski gets yet another opportunity here to drive in some runs.
Yeah, and Wisniewski comes to the plate as one of only 2 Tiger hitters to have not recorded a hit on the day so far. So this might be factoring into the decision for the Austin College coaching staff to leave Culp out there, knowing that he's had some success against this left-hander today.
Yeah, Luke, I think that's a great point. And I mean, even at this point in the game, I do think it would take a sort of a long at bat and then maybe another run scoring and men on base for the hook to come out. But it's something that you have to at least start thinking about as a coaching staff now.
Wisniewski's able to lay off of that pitch down and in. Now has a 2-1 count. Wisniewski with 4 runs batted in last night. He sees that one called for a strike, up and away. So now 2 on, 2 out, and a 2-2 count. Runner is going, and Bashirs sends the ball to second base, but not able to get there in time. So yet another stolen base for the Tigers. Might have caught Culp napping here. So focused on the hitter that he forgot about Metz over there at first. So now 2 runners in scoring position for Wisniewski. Big opportunity to really blow the game open. The pitch is delivered, and it is outside for a walk. A close one there, but Wisniewski draws the walk, and the bases are loaded once again, this time for Michael Goodrich. Goodrich drove 2 runs in during the second inning and now skies that one to center field. And it drops. The center fielder is not able to get that one, and 3 runs are going to score. What looked like a pretty routine fly ball out in center field results in 3 runs batted in for Michael Goodrich, giving him 5 on the day. And this one is now blown wide open as we see this replay.
And as we noted earlier in this inning, it looked like the wind had picked up. We saw the dirt in the infield being picked up and moved around. So I think that might have played a factor on that ball hit into the outfield. It looked like it just kept carrying, and the center fielder could never camp out under it.
Yeah, Gray couldn't quite get a good read on it, and it dropped. And just like that, Culp, after 126 pitches, 6 2/3 innings, his day is over. He allowed 11 runs on the day, all of them earned. Walked 5 hitters, allowed 11 hits. And we will be right back as the Kangaroos bring in a new pitcher. We have Jordan Miller now on to pitch for the Roos, replacing starter Ryan Culp. He comes in with the Roos down 11-3, and Tyler Pettit in the plate at the batter's box.
Yeah, and Brian, a big lefty, gonna have that 3/4 arm slot out away from the rubber, as you can see there. Kind of a Reed Detmersy almost delivery. If people are familiar with him, he was just drafted this past year to the Angels. Has that sort of looping curveball that comes in from a diagonal angle.
And in Miller's last outing at Centenary, he worked 2 innings, but in that time gave up 9 hits and 7 earned runs. But coming into a little bit of a different situation here against the Tigers, already with 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th.
And Pettit lines that one to left field, but that one is caught by Flynn. And that is the 3rd out of the inning. So 6 runs come across the plate for the Tigers in this half of the inning, expanding their lead to 11-3. As we head to the 8th inning, the Tigers look to close out this first game of a doubleheader. We will be right back. After the Tigers scored 6 runs in the bottom half of the 7th, they now have an 11-3 lead over Austin College, and Harrison DeRoe is back out on the mound as Jake Webster squares around a bunt, but fouls it right back. DeRoe has thrown 4 scoreless innings, striking out 5, walking just 1, and allowing only 1 hit.
Yeah, really impressive work from DeRoe on the day. But overall on the weekend, really impressive work from some Tiger pitchers who are a little bit younger.
Yeah, yesterday we saw a redshirt first-year Cade McGann pull off the win. 5 scoreless innings. First-year Ethan Clark come in to save the game, and now a couple more first-years today with Chavana and DeRoe. Must be a scary sight for the rest of the SCAC to see first-year pitchers dominating for the top-ranked Trinity Tigers. DeRoe has a 1-2 count on Webster, and he delivers the breaking ball that lands right there for a called third strike. Beautiful curveball for DeRoe.
Yeah, and that's just a perfect pitch right here. There's not much you can do with that right there. If you're looking to swing at a curveball, you're looking to swing at something with a little bit of a tighter action, not that big looping breaking ball.
That brings up left fielder Nick Flynn. He's 0 for 3 on the day. And yet another one of those looping breaking balls who really gotten in command this inning. So hard for a batter, sees that, looks like a ball, but then all of a sudden it's right there. Tries another one, that one just high. Pettit asking for it high. That goes just outside. DeRoe acknowledging that he didn't get it right where he wanted. Now the 2-2 is skied out to left field. That sends Shaw back out, and that ball is gone. That is a home run for Nick Flynn. Looks like the wind helped carry that one. And that is just the second home run on the year for Austin College. The first for Flynn.
Yeah, and off the bat, it looked like DeRoe had Flynn out in front of this one. Looked like it would be a routine pop-up, but it got into that same jet stream that we saw carry that ball in center field earlier, and this one left the park.
Yeah, and towards that little short porch in left. But exactly the type of contact that I said they needed to make earlier in the game. Keep the pitcher thinking about it in the back of their mind. Just give them something to think about. And now, all of a sudden, it's a little bit of a closer game.
And I bet the Roos are really regretting giving up 6 runs in the last half inning. This would have been a 5-4 game now with that home run had they kept the game where it was at. But Trinity now still holds a hefty 11-4 lead. And Mahoney draws the walk right there, so a couple consecutive troublesome spots for DeRoe. Giving up the home run and now a walk, and we see Coach Scannell out on the mound to talk to him. Doesn't look like he's going to bring him out quite yet, but just wants to talk to him. When you're up 7, probably telling him just throw strikes. You know, if you give up a solo home run like that, we're okay. We're still up by 7. But do you think that's something along the lines of what he said, Sam?
Yeah, I do. I mean, you know, you have a lead. You're pitching with a lead. Let's not let this spiral out of control. You know, damage limitation is the name of the game right now, and especially because you have another game coming up right after this, right? So if you can get out of this inning with, say, 2 runs scored, but you get through it, you keep your pitch count down, you're able to make it all the way through the end of the game, that really helps the team out for the next game that they have to play. So when you're in these doubleheader situations, that sort of strategy starts to come into play, and you say, all right, well, the risk of this being a closer game is worth it for us to have a better chance at winning the next one.
Yeah, and right there, Alphonse with a nice base hit to right field. So now 2 runners on after the solo home run by Nick Flynn. That brings up Brandon Evans. And he lines it but right to Metz, who steps on the bag at third and gets it across the diamond to Von der Haar at first. And just like that, DeRoe is able to get out of the inning with no further damage. Keeps Trinity's lead right where it is at 7. And after just 1 run for Austin College on the big fly, we head to the bottom of the 8th with the Tigers up 11-4. Justin Miller back out there after finishing up the 7th inning, facing fellow lefty Rave Chomet.
And Luke, I would think this would be a bit of an awkward at bat for Chalmette. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd certainly agree. I think one thing that we've seen from the Rue lefties in this pitching staff has been the fact that they've led with a ton of breaking balls. And with a left-hander at the plate, he's certainly at a disadvantage. But it looks like he takes advantage of a fastball there, sending it past the diving second baseman into right field for the single.
That's Rafe's third hit on the day, and in a position he's so familiar with, leading off not only the lineup, but the inning yet again. He's actually hitting .577 when he leads off of an inning. So, talk about a table setter. Rafe is just that.
Yeah, and a great piece of hitting from him as well. A little bit jammed, but still able to get the barrel to the ball and just sneak that one past the infield.
Yeah, and it's great to have a guy that can produce and get on base as much as Rafe does to lead off innings, but when you pair that with his speed and his understanding of how to run the base pass, then you have a really dangerous guy at the top of your order.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the gap-to-gap power even is a little underrated with Rafe.
Yeah, and as that ball gets away from the catcher, Rafe is able to take second base. Bashirs couldn't quite get a hold of that one. Herrera waited back on that pitch and sent it just foul past third base. That's how he got his last base hit in a similar area. Got a double down the third base line. Got that 6-run 7th inning going. And now Herrera is hit by Miller's pitch.
Yeah, and that's in a place that stings too.
That'll bring up Mason Meredith, nobody out, and 2 runners on. Yet another RBI opportunity, already driven in 2 runs today. Meredith fouls that one back. For those Tiger fans at home, we'd like to update you on the volleyball score. The Tigers won in Seguin, beating Texas Lutheran in 4 sets. So another victory for the Tigers. They have another one at 2:30. And Meredith swings through that one as Miller records the strikeout. But just all sorts of great things happening at Trinity. 18 sports have been happening all in this semester.
And Brian, a little bit of a shameless plug, but we've been covering all of them over on TSR. People haven't checked that out over on the Tiger Network YouTube page. You've been doing a great job heading that up with Ryan Figert. And if you miss a game, you know that you can trust us to bring it back to you and tell you what's been happening, what is happening, and what's going to happen down the road.
Yeah, absolutely been a great project we've started, and happy to bring you all the great things happening on Trinity's campus this spring semester. The baseball team, of course, ranked number 1 in the entire nation. Volleyball team ranked 2nd, just behind Colorado College, who's in this same conference. And women's basketball team winning the SCAC championship, men falling just short in the championship game, but just success everywhere you look.
Yeah, and I think one of my favorite stats from Trinity Athletics overall, the women's soccer team has not dropped a regular season SCAC match since the 2008 season. That's over 100 consecutive victories, as Schaub, way out in front of that one, pulled it hard foul.
second, I thought, just maybe.
The women's soccer team is actually in action tomorrow. At home, you can catch that right here on the Tiger Network. They face Texas Lutheran. The men follow. They also play Texas Lutheran right here at Paul McGinley Field. Schaub with the 3-2 count. And he fouls that right back. Of course, apart from all the other action, there is another game to follow this one. So I hope you're not tired of baseball. We certainly are not. The Tigers will face the Kangaroos for the third and final game of the series. Miller readies his 3-2 delivery to Schaub. And Schaub grounds that past the third baseman into left field. But it is too hard of a hit to bring in another run, so the bases will be loaded. Once again, something we've seen several times in the past few innings. That one right there in the 5-6 hole. Another single for Schaub, the extra base machine. And no better hitter to have with the bases loaded than your team leader in runs batted in, Jack Vonderhaar, already with 28 runs batted in, tied for 7th in the entire country. And he checks his swing, but the umpire says that he did go around. So Miller gets ahead of his fellow lefty.
And Luke, how long do you think the leash is on Miller? Because I'm thinking like intercontinental.
I'd have to agree with you there.
And a line drive back towards the pitcher, but the shortstop Webster actually turns the double play. Or he got the out at second. Crazy play right here as Vonderhaar lined it off the pitcher's glove. Webster bobbled it but got the out at short and did not get the out at first. So lots going on right there. While all that happened, a run did cross the plate, I believe. Or he might have frozen on that line drive. Either way, MJ Metz is now up with 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th, and it does look like that run did come in. So a fielder's choice after all that. Hard hit ball by Vonderhaar, but nice defensive play by Webster. Metz grounds that back to Webster, who takes the easy out at second base with Mahoney. And that's the end of the 8th inning. The Tigers add a run, and they lead 12-4 as we head to the top of the 9th inning. Brandon Hill steps into the plate to lead off the 9th inning. Tigers with a 12-4 lead as they look to wrap up yet another victory. Trinity has won 7 consecutive games, so this would be their 8th. Austin College, meanwhile, have lost 7 in a row. Hill drives the 2-0 pitch to shortstop, and Herrera gets the easy out at first base, so there is 1 down in the 9th inning. We have a new pitcher on the mound, first-year left-handed pitcher, looks like Matthew Mackey. So that wraps up the day for Harrison DeRoe, who came in relief of Justin Chavana, the starter. Mackey throws that one outside, but DeRoe threw 5 innings, giving up just 1 run, walked 2 batters, and struck out 6. That followed Chavana's 3 innings filled with 3 unearned runs. And this is the 3rd first-year pitcher to come in for the Tigers.
Yeah, and it's been an interesting approach from the Tigers so far this weekend. We haven't seen particularly long leashes on these pitchers, as no one has really ramped up their pitch counts yet early on in this season. It's been more of a approach by committee so far, as we're seeing our 3rd pitcher of the day.
Yeah, and both sides really doing their best to limit the amount of pitchers they use in this first game, since they have another game scheduled to start at 4 p.m. We hope you stick with us for that one after these final 2 outs are gathered, and they might come right here as Herrera gets that ground ball, flips it to second, and on to first for the double play, and that is another Tigers victory, their 8th consecutive win. Trinity scoring 12 runs on 13 hits. They had 4 errors early on that cost them, but they were able to overcome that. Austin College, 4 runs on 5 hits, 1 error, left 4 men on base. Luke, what are your final thoughts on this first game?
Last night I said that the Tigers played a really complete game, and I think that held true for most of today. Early on, they were reminded that even though they carry that number 1 ranking in the nation, they aren't invincible. So after giving up 3 runs in that 2nd inning, they got back to what they did last night. They put the ball in play, they pitched well, they ran the bases, and more important than anything else, I think, for this Tigers team is they played really good defense in the field.
And Sam, 8 consecutive wins for the Tigers, ranked atop the nation for Division III. What did you think of today's game?
You know, I agree with a lot of what Luke said. I think that it was a little bit lackadaisical at first. They really rounded into form. And for me, I think it's just a case of a team that is really good at taking advantage of the situation. You know, you had a pitcher who was maybe tiring a little bit, getting towards the end of his leash, and you put up a 6 spot, right? That could have just as easily been you put up 1 run, and then they go to their bullpen and they hold, and all of a sudden you're talking about a completely different game. And for me, that's what great teams do. They take advantage of advantageous situations, and they just find ways to win, even when it's not their best day. And I don't think today was necessarily Trinity's best day, but they found a way to win, and that's really all that matters.
Yeah, and thanks to performances on the mound from Chavana, DeRoe, and Mackey, with DeRoe pulling out the victory. He's now 4-0 on the year, so the first year getting some good play so far early on this year, and the Tigers offense exploding for 12 runs. You see a couple crooked numbers right there in the 2nd inning and in the 7th inning. Just like last night, putting together several hits consecutively, getting on however they can, taking the extra base, and getting 12 runs before you know it. So another victory for the Tigers, and please stick with us for the second game of a doubleheader right here on the Tiger Network. It is scheduled for 4 p.m. If it starts a little bit earlier, we will be right here for you, so don't go anywhere. We will see you in a little bit.